just make it, to be fair, one of my first pieces.
One of your first pieces. Did you know growing up that you wanted to be an artist?
I think I did.
Uh-huh.
I think.
Or did you fall
As
into
much
it?
as you make decisions when you're that young.
Right.
But I think I did.
Okay, so from here, in painting at Southeastern, then you left and went to Albuquerque.
Uh-huh.
And what did you do there?
I did sculpture and drawing. I'm a sculptor, but it's not a practical thing to do, and it takes a great deal of time, and eventually you do something else. A show comes up and they want a piece, and you can't knock out a piece of sculpture. You know, it takes a while. So I started pushing the drawing, the 2D stuff. But it was always on paper. I like paper. And then I just wound up doing drawing, period. Until I decided to cast the sand.
And how did that come about?
Well, I lived in between Folsom and Covington on the Chafunta River. And I had this wonderful sandy slough on the property, and when the river came up, it backed up into this slough. And when it receded, the slough had all of this river bottom patterning on it. And I'd look at it each time, and I said, I have to throw some plaster on that at some point.
And how in the world did you do that?
And I did. I think about it today and I go, how in the world did you do that? I got plaster and I put it on a piece of plywood and dragged it out to the slough. And decided what I wanted and mixed plaster, ran a hose out there and mixed plaster and threw the plaster on those segments that I thought were interesting, and let the stuff set up, and then drag those pieces back.
How big would they be?
Some of them were pretty good. They were pretty big.
With wet sand and plaster?
Yeah. And I let them sit out there and dry off a little bit and brush them off and drag them in under the house, under the studio. And then those were my molds. And then I made a bunch of paper pulp. And I think that's when I decided to do non-toxic. And so I decided to do sculpture in paper only. I let the plaster really dry out, and I took the paper pulp and molded it onto those pieces of plaster. Then I let that dry, and I carefully took that off. Cast paper is really tough, really, really tough. And I could make this chair out of paper and sit on it.
Wow.
You know, it's very strong stuff, and you can eat it, you know, and not die. They really don't have a frame except at the top, where the weight of the piece, and then I did canvas. I put canvas all on the back to reinforce, but with the paper you don't really have to do that, but I tend to overbuild just to be safe. And then I ran a 1x2 maybe piece of wood, wrapped it in canvas, and that's what the hanging wire is on. So it kind of distributed the weight across the top. My subject matter has always been, if it's not a person, has always been landscape. So that's already in my head, you know, whether I'm looking at it or not, that information is there. So I just did landscape forms, and you're right, I just sit back and look at it and go, okay, we'll do this and we'll do that. Abstract. Right. And now and again I would do something realistic, but I love realism, but it's boring for me because it has a logical end, And abstraction does it. Abstraction gives you lots of room to play.